Freedom of speech is the principle that supports the freedom of an individual or community to articulate their opinions and ideas without fear of retaliation, censorship, or legal sanction. Sometimes this freedom of speech is censored, which we believe that it shouldn't, and here are some examples of how we see freedom of speech today in society.
Speech and politics go hand in hand, so it's no surprise that people like to express themselves politically, sometimes with clothing. What I will be singling out today is some parts of those clothing, such as political pins. Now, naturally, any political pin I have is very ironic. This is one from, I believe, 2 years ago during the Kim Jong-un and Trump dilemma, the tensions, but it's been a freedom of speech issue for a long time, and it was actually in 1969 in Tinker versus Des Moines, where the Supreme Court got involved in freedom of speech in schools and what people were allowed to wear, because Mary Beth Tinker was a 13-year-old high school student, and she wore black armbands to protest Vietnam, which the school didn't allow. And this ended up being an infringement on her freedom of speech, and that's why we're allowed to express themselves this way and wear political pins today.
Freedom of speech is seen in many different categories, such as movies, politics, or music. Music is one way of getting your message out to the world. This happens because of our First Amendment. Songs have different messages in which the artists are using their freedom of speech. For instance, I Am King by Reflect has a clear purpose. Its purpose is to say that racism is still here, but we must stop it. We have to get rid of it. A bar that struck me from this piece of art is as states, but we stay confident all up in that grace, even when the enemy is all up in my face. Another song is Pressure by Shoreline Mafia. This has no direct message. Its purpose is to get you hype and to make you dance.
Freedom of speech is an incredibly common topic that we see regularly in our everyday lives, and it's especially prominent through fashion. Fashion forms part of our life from the time we are born because it is a tool that is used to showcase our gender, tribe, tradition, morals, religion, and everything in between. Fashion is a fantastic representation of our individuality and our creativity, and it shouldn't be criticized or ridiculed. However, there have been times where controversial topics have been brought into fashion. For example, in 2016 when Marc Jacobs included dreadlocks on white people in his fashion show. This was seen as cultural appropriation, and it wasn't taken well by the press. There are no laws for what you can and cannot wear in fashion, so this sort of criticism doesn't make much sense. People should be able to express themselves in whichever way they want, and to denounce someone just for wearing their hair in a certain way seems wrong. This leads back to the point that people should be able to have the freedom of speech to do whatever they want in fashion.
Articles of clothing put onto the body of an athlete are often there for the world to see. Therefore, the clothing alone of athletes can influence and sway others into certain beliefs or ideals. Many athletes use shoe design, armbands, and badges or emblems to speak for a certain point and often raise awareness. Today, thanks to social media, this could be spread even further if need be. On Mother's Day 2001, the MLB began to wear pink ribbons on jerseys as well as pink armbands, batting gloves, etc. in order to raise awareness for breast cancer. They began to sell pink bats for $10 and ribbons for $1. All funds would then be given to charitable foundations seeking to benefit patients with breast cancer already and for research purposes. This would not only involve all players being brought together, but it would unite them with the general populace as well as the interest of a common goal. These are both examples of how sports and freedom of speech have joined together to challenge issues head-on in ways that would soon follow.
Freedom of speech is expressed in many ways in our society today. One way is literature. Everyone is allowed to publish books and express ideas because of freedom of speech. In Fahrenheit 451, a novel about a dystopian society, we notice an abundance of censorship and a lack of freedom of speech. Some quotes that express this idea are as follows. It's fine work. Monday, burn Millay. Wednesday, Whitman. Friday, Faulkner. Burn them to ashes, then burn the ashes. That's our official slogan. Bradbury 6. This illustrates when the firemen go to people's houses to burn their books. The reason for this is because there's no freedom of speech. Another quote is, its real beauty is that it destroys responsibility and consequences. A problem that gets burdensome, then into the furnace with it. Now, Montag, you're a burden, and the fire will lift you off my shoulders. Clean, quick, sure. Nothing to rot later. Bradbury 109. This is the reason why they burn books. But these readings should not be implemented in our society.
To conclude, we believe that freedom of speech is a legal right that everyone deserves, and if we work together as a society, we can make sure that it is upheld, no matter where you are or what your circumstances are.